You know, they say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. There's a beholder in the room. Roll initiative. Hey there, kids, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Uncle Frank, hoping that you are having a great day. And in today's video, it finally happened. You have just started operating on TCG Player or eBay or some other online market. You've gotten your starting inventory out, and you finally got your first order, or maybe you're a few orders in. You've been at it for a bit. You're pretty confident in what you're doing, how your little system works, and you're pretty happy with the profits you're making so far. But you opened up your seller account to find that there's a message in your inbox saying that you got a negative review because something was wrong with the order. In today's video, we are talking about common mistakes that occur when it comes to any kind of online sales, but I suppose this will pertain to TCG cards, you know, for obvious reasons. And just some things you can do to help mitigate any kind of risk or, well, I suppose any kind of mistake from happening while you're conducting your business and trying to turn your love of card games into a source of income for yourself. Before we begin, you know, anyone who's conducting business anywhere on the planet is going to make a mistake sooner or later. When that happens, all you can do is try to fix the mistake and take steps to prevent it from happening again. When you make an error or when you screw up or, you know, something just doesn't go your way, you know, getting upset about it or letting it bring your entire day down is not really the most productive way forward. Just accept the mistake when it happens and do your best to prevent it from happening again in the future, right? All we can do as people is to keep marching along and do the best we can. Now, with all of that said, let's talk about at least a few common mistakes that can occur. We're going to use a TCG Player specifically as our platform of choice, but I'm assuming that this would be applicable for eBay or Card Market or any other online marketplace, really. The first one is just sending out the wrong version of a card. Especially in Pokemon, occasionally you will find that one set can have multiple different basic versions of one given Pokemon. And I'm not talking about like alternate arts, secret rares, etc. I'm talking about just a common Pikachu and a common Pikachu with different set numbers in the same set. And sometimes when you're just going through fulfilling your orders, you might grab just the first Pikachu you see if the order says Pikachu from Battle Styles. I don't think there's a Pikachu in Battle Styles. You know, you can see a Pokemon set with a Pokemon name on it, and you just grab the first one you see, forgetting that the set can have multiple copies of a given Pokemon in it. The easiest thing you can do to keep this problem from popping up all the time is to just do a quick double check of the set number on the card in question to make sure that it lines up with the set number on the order sheet. It's a very simple mistake to make. Pops up more often than you'd think, especially if you're dealing primarily with Pokemon, and it's a very easy one to fix. The second fairly common mistake that pops up often enough on TCG Player is just listing the wrong condition for your cards. I know what the sentiment out there is. TCG Player sellers are bad at guessing condition, but oftentimes it's just a case of you didn't see it the first time when you're adding cards to the inventory. Now, depending on who you are, how your workflow works, and what you think works best for you, you're going to have different ways of evaluating your cards before you add them to your inventory to sell on TCG Player. Something that I have found personally that works well is to examine each card during each step of the organization process. When cards are being split up into individual card games, I'm giving them a quick once-over to check conditions. Any obviously damaged cards can be pulled aside and sent off into the garbage bin box. Fun box. I should talk about that at some point. And then along each stage of the sorting process, just make sure that you're double checking all the cards to verify their condition to the best of your ability. But the big one you should always do is check the back of the cards. A lot of people, when they're just adding cards to inventory, just take a quick glance at the front of the card. When you do that, you can miss out on 50% of the card surface when it comes to evaluating condition. And I assure you, while you might just give a quick glance to the front of a card, the end buyer is going to examine the whole thing to confirm condition. This is especially important for more expensive cards, especially once it creeps above $50. Rule of thumb, if TCG Player is requiring tracking for the card you're sending out, it's a good idea to double check the condition before sending it out. All right? Common issue number 3 is just inputting the wrong numbers for a given card, or inputting numbers for one card as numbers for another card on entry. There's a lot of different ways to add cards to your TCG Player inventory. The more you level up and the more experience you get on the platform, the more ways open up to you. And I've found, especially if you are, it's late at night, you're just trying to get through your workflow, you will occasionally make mistakes and input one card in the set accidentally in the spot for a different card from the same set, usually above or below it if you're going alphabetically. All right. This one can be really hard to notice, and if you made an error input 3 years ago for a given set, you won't know that you've made that mistake until it comes time to fulfill an order that needs that card, This one's also kind of hard to mitigate because the only real solution is just to double check the numbers and what card you're putting those numbers in for each card as you go through. Double checking your work always helps. As carpenters will say, it is better to measure twice and cut once, or something along those lines. Now, the final mistake that can pop up that I will talk about today is just not double checking the prices. We talked about double checking condition, which cards you're sending out, and even what cards you're adding to the inventory. But the final thing you want to keep an eye on is what prices your cards are actually listed at. Doesn't happen all too often, but occasionally you'll find that you accidentally put in the wrong number for a card or even a group of cards. Easy to check, just like when it comes to accidentally putting the wrong card in your inventory. Just double check the prices, because you don't want to accidentally sell a $100 card for $10 or vice versa, right? Although I will say, if you sell a $10 card for $100, that's probably a good thing. That's probably a good thing, right? Anyway, these are all very simple mistakes. They can pop up. They're relatively easy to fix and relatively easy to keep from happening over and over again. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment down below. What are some problems you might have encountered in the TCG business world? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Welcome to the end of the video where we answer viewer questions. Discord user Sabatiel asks, have you seen the new time rules for Yu-Gi-Oh? The ones where both players lose when time is called? Yeah, I saw that. There are definitely some bad actors who are going to abuse the hell out of that ruling, I think. It has a lot of potential to go wrong, so not great overall. Not Konami's greatest decision in recent months, I'll say. Anyway, thank you so much for realsies this time. See you next time.